For 26 years, she had no name, just a case file that read Chelsea Jane Doe. Police knew who killed her. He was already in prison. What they didn't know for over 2.5 decades was who she actually was. This summer, that finally changed. In 1999, in Chelsea, Massachusetts, just across the river from Boston, the remains of a teenage girl were found in a parking lot. She had been strangled. Her body showed she'd been gone from the world a long time before anyone found her, and there was nothing on her that could say who she was. Police had a confession. A man was convicted for her killing, but the victim herself remained a mystery IDs couldn't solve and dental records couldn't match. She became known only by the case name investigators gave her, Chelsea Jane Doe. For over 2 decades, her case sat cold, not because no one cared, but because 1990s-era forensic tools simply couldn't do what's possible today. Composite sketches were made and circulated. Dental comparisons were run against missing persons databases. None of it worked. Meanwhile, roughly 300 miles away, in another state, a family had been searching just as long for a girl who vanished in November 2000. A 16-year-old girl who loved to draw, dance, and cheerlead. Nobody yet knew the 2 searches were for the same person. The turning point came from a technique called investigative genetic genealogy, the same method that's cracked infamous cases like the Golden State Killer. Instead of comparing DNA to a single database of criminal records, investigators build out a family tree from small genetic matches, sometimes distant cousins 2 or 3 times removed, and narrow it down piece by piece until one name emerges. It's slow, it's meticulous, and in this case, it worked. On June 3, 2026, authorities in Chelsea stood in front of cameras and said her name for the first time, Tiffany Bradley.
Today, we can finally say her name, Tiffany Bradley.
She'd vanished in November 2000, and for 26 years, 2 separate searches, one for a missing girl, one for an unidentified victim, never crossed paths. Now they finally had. Chelsea's police chief, who had been a young lieutenant back when her remains were first discovered, stood at that same podium decades later to finally give her back her name. Tiffany's niece called it a miracle. After 26 years, she said, people still cared enough to give her aunt back her name. It's a strange kind of ending, not the resolution anyone hopes for, but a resolution all the same. A family finally got to stop wondering and start grieving with an actual name to grieve. Here's what strikes me about this one. We tend to think of unsolved as meaning nobody knows what happened, but this case shows there's another kind of unsolved, where the crime itself was never in question, and still a person can go a quarter of a century without a name. That's not really a mystery about a killer. It's a mystery about how easily a person can be lost, even in a country full of records, cameras, and databases. What finally solved it wasn't a confession or a lucky tip. It was patience and a technology that didn't even exist when she disappeared. If there's a hopeful note in a story this sad, it's that even 26 years later, there was still going to be somebody who cared enough to give her back her name. Tiffany Bradley disappeared in November 2000. It took 26 years and a technology nobody had back then to finally bring her home. So here's a question worth sitting with. How many more Tiffany's are still out there, waiting for someone to finally look close enough? If you want to help, most regions have a missing persons DNA database you can contribute to. It's exactly how cases like this finally get solved.
If you enjoyed a story like this one, hit like and subscribe for more real mysteries every week.